You've got a bit of a theory about why Harry continues to go along with this stuff.
Well, I think what's really happening at the moment, I mean, that extraordinary exchange with the therapist on Saturday, on reflection, here is one of the heirs to the throne, sixth in line, who goes on TV to not only confess that he is suffering mental problems, but says that the solution to his problems were, amongst many other drugs, illegal psychedelic drugs, which was an astonishing thing to say, that he felt much better if he took these mind-bending drugs. And his whole manner in that hour on Saturday, it was all about himself. It was very self-indulgent. Criticism, of course, about his father and the whole royal family and all the rest of it. But at the end of it, you thought, this selfish, self-indulgent, rather dim man, what is he doing? Why is he pouring this out? Now, firstly, of course, he loves the publicity. Here he is, he's completely uncontrolled. He can attack everyone and gets lots of attention. And he's now become a chronic attention seeker.
Like a seal at a zoo.
He really is, and he loves it. And he's earning his money from it. That's his whole... Attacking the royal family now has become his main source of income. But I then reflected there's something even more sinister about this all. Because ever since the Netflix series, we've had Harry and endless interviews to promote his book, and now up comes this 1 hour extravaganza with a very weird quack who believes in therapy and admits all sorts of sins and all the rest of it. But there's no Meghan. And what is fascinating is that Meghan, the person who really fired up this whole crisis, is absent. And I began thinking that really this is really very clever of her. She is sending Harry out to fight her battle. She stays in obscurity. He fights, she's using him to fight her enemies. That's the Windsor family, the royal family. He is the one who can take all the flak, and she stands back. So he has become now her puppet in a way which was not clear, I think, until Saturday.
Yes, I mean, obviously you could imagine that his mouth is moving purely because Meghan has her hand inserted somewhere and it's right up there like a puppet. You could picture that, couldn't you, really? But when it comes to this kind of stuff now, do you not think it is really noticeable that Harry was next to Meghan when she was telling her truth? I mean, they wheeled him in like a, I don't know, an idiot, really, after this Oprah interview. But when it comes to Meghan now, she is separate. She is distinct. She's leaving him on her own. And I can't help but wonder whether or not she's trying to let him create this picture as damaged goods and that she's there to look after him and this is what she's got to deal with at home. Your views on that?
Well, I think that many people thought that Harry was brainwashed when he was still in England, and that when he went to California and she promised him freedom, he grabbed it because he was besotted by her, and it was all about his neediness. Now it's got, I think, much worse. She now is completely manipulating him to fight her battle against the royal family, because the coronation, which is the most important event to come, and for many years, is, of course, will give King Charles his whole status for the rest of his short reign. And if Harry is able to destabilise it, if Harry, by playing his games, by attacking the king more and more, is able to... Can
I just ask on this one, because there are strong schools of thought that suggest that Harry is not particularly bright, OK? And Meghan, if she is just a pound-shop Z-list actress, surely the full might of the monarchy should be able to overcome unnecessary distractions from Winch and Ginge, and they've not been able to do that yet, and I find that weird.
Well, you're right, and I think that's very much because King Charles is weak. He's worried. He's, on the whole, he's not a decisive man who wants to, in the end, axe Harry and Meghan from the scene. Now, I do think that his decision to evict them from Frogmore was a sign of great optimism for those of us who've been advocating, especially on this programme, that he should be tougher.
I heard a little rumour about that, and that rumour was that essentially William wanted them nowhere near the royal circle because he didn't trust them around the other royal children that there would be there, because he didn't want them indoctrinated by this rubbish.
Well, I don't think William wants him in the picture, full stop. And he's quite right. And more to the point, I think Kate doesn't, because she's been insulted by Meghan and Harry. And I think Camilla, the Queen, also, having been called the wicked stepmother, does want Harry there. So I think the eviction from Frogmore is the first stage. But he's got to do more, Charles. He's got to say to Harry, of course you're invited, my dear son, but it's row 54 for you behind the column. Do you still want to come? come. And I think in the end, what happened on Saturday and Meghan's invisibility is all in the end a threat to Charles, that Meghan is playing the shots and he's now got to answer back and cut them down.